Welcome to Board Game Homies, where a group of friends play, review, and share about all things board games. Sitting around the table today are
Reed,
Becky,
Gillian,
and I'm Angela. Today we have first, second, and third impressions of Wyrmspan, aka Got Milk. But first, what's bringing you guys joy?
the game that's bringing me joy right now is one I purchased quite some time ago and have yet to get to the table. I think it's been sitting on the shelf for at least 4 months, and I know Angela's commented on it quite a few times. That's Nucleum. It's a heavy Euro game that I purchased after it got rave reviews last year, and I'm really excited because it's been claimed to be somewhat of a hybrid between Brass and Barrage. I love Brass. I'm waiting for Barrage to be delivered through the recent Kickstarter, so I haven't played that yet. But I'm really excited for Nucleum, and I've been starting to delve into the rules and trying to learn the game, and hopefully we'll play soon. It's a game where you're route building, trying to power cities through Nucleum, power plants and whatnot. And so, yeah, it just seems like a really fun game that's right up our collective alleys, I think.
I was going to be cheeky and say that Nucleum is also my joy game because there has been so much trash talk about that game, just waiting and waiting and waiting to play it, especially from Angela.
Guys, I really want to play this game. I've wanted to play it for almost a year, and it just sits on the shelf, and I just look at it, and it's like, and don't get me started on Barrage. Literally, Reed once thought that was the game we were playing. So I really want to play Barrage. I really want to play Nucleum. They sound like a hoot and a half. They sound kind of cutthroat as well, and I kind of like that.
I picked up Nucleum today at the game store, and I wasn't going to buy it because I know that you all have it, but I was like, are we going to ever play this game?
I am shooketh.
That I picked it up?
Yeah, girl, how much space do you have in your non-existent house?
I just physically picked it up.
Oh, I thought you purchased it.
And then I was carrying other games around, and the guy was like, do you want me to hold those games? And I said, I just want to hold them and decide if I want to buy them. And then I felt pressure to buy them because I relinquished them to him so I wouldn't be carrying them around.
Did you buy them?
I did.
What did you buy?
I bought a used copy of On Mars, and I also bought, I know, it's my first Lacerda game that I bought.
Celebrate!
My God. Reed doesn't have a house, but she has a room full of board games.
I do. I had to shuffle around a lot of things to be able to put it there, and then I also bought a used copy of Welcome To.
Valid.
On Mars is a big box.
She thick.
Especially if you're carrying around with you for like a half an hour at the game store.
The game that is bringing me joy isn't actually a game. It's a feeling, but the feeling brings me joy. So the feeling is something I can't identify, but it's joyful. And I'm going to give you 2 examples of this. First is getting to introduce it. It's kind of the whole feeling is introducing people to games that you enjoy and like and being helpful. So this week at work, I got to hang out with some of my peers that I don't see very often, and we played Nana. And I was telling them all about it, and I was telling them how they could get Trio, and we were just having a lot of fun. And I love it that games can bring people together in that kind of way. And so I was just really excited to hang out with folks who I don't get to see very often and play games. The second thing was a different coworker at the library was talking about how she had to buy a game for her boyfriend, and he liked kind of spooky games, and there's not tons and tons of spooky games that he didn't already own or that weren't on his radar or that fit his gaming lifestyle. But he's into fantasy, and I was like, you should try this game called Clank Catacombs. It's been on my to-play list. It seems very fun, kind of silly. We talked about it in the last pod as my joy game that I really want us to play next week. But he got it for his birthday. He opened it up, and he even played it with his kids, and they had a blast, and they enjoyed it. And I just thought that was like so much fun that I could help pick out a game that I thought he would like, and then he enjoyed it. So anyway, that just brings me a bunch of joy.
I had a similar experience this weekend. I went to Albuquerque for my nephew's birthday and brought Nana because our copy arrived from Japan, and we played it. I played it with 2 kids. I played it with just adults, and then we've been playing it at my house as well. So this morning we played with my mom, Nat, and Burks, and it's really great to have a game that's really easy to pick up. It's so small, you can take it wherever, and then it's really fun. People love it.
Yeah, as far as introducing games, I enjoy that aspect as well, especially when this board game group first started. We would introduce both Angela and Reed to a board game, and then they would both go out and buy it. And so that encouraged me in that, oh, we have good taste. They like the same kind of types of games we like. But at the same time, there's also but are we actually going to play our copy anymore if you guys buy it? So that still happens with the Welcome To purchase that Reed just had.
It was on the used shelf for $12, and that is a game that I think I can play a lot. And then it's funny that we're talking about introducing Nana to people, and then the first game that you introduced directly to me was Dune Imperium. So,
Yeah, there you go.
I just remember my brain hurting, and I don't remember my brain hurting after Nana, even though we played 25 games of it.
Although some of those games near the end, we were like, was that the last game? Or the game before that?
Well, the game that is bringing me joy is a little bit bittersweet because it is a game that Angela does not like playing, and that is Revive. And I snuck over here a couple weeks ago, and we played a 3-player game with Gillian, Becky, and myself. And in playing it and in looking at it, I just thought, this is the perfect game for me. I love the design of it. I love how everything's a race, and I love a really strong end game objectives, and I feel like the game is really built around that. And so I want to play more Revive, and it's so sad that before we even opened our mouths today, Angela was like, I'm glad I didn't have to play Revive anymore because it plays better at 3 players.
Not at all.
Is this my revisionist history coming in?
Every time. I don't hate Revive. I just think it played faster at 3. Now, that could be that you were dragging the game down when we played with you, for sure.
Angela!
That's what Reed said. It's not that I don't mind the game. I just didn't fall head over heels in love like it sounds like you are. But I would play Revive again, for sure.
As I was thinking about it and we were playing, I love how cohesive it is. And for me, it feels as well designed as Brass Birmingham. Maybe not as Brass Birmingham, because I know that that's collectively possibly our most favorite game. But it just felt so well done, so beautifully designed that it is something that I want to play, and I want to play a lot. And every time we've played it, I've seen a different strategy, and I love that it feels like there's more to discover.
I love that you like it so much, because that's one of my favorite games. Becky and I don't play it all that much anymore, mainly because we kind of stopped playing board games a little bit, just the 2 of us, for no apparent reason. It's just laziness. But I really want to get Revive back to the table more frequently, because playing with you, the 3 of us, it was really exciting, and I love that game. It's one of 3 that I would say that I can recall that immediately after the first play, I wanted to play it again, and I knew it was a game for me. So the one was Revive, one was Brass Birmingham, and the other was Dune Imperium, the original Dune Imperium. And so, yeah, that is kind of in that same tier there. I also am hoping that Nucleum's going to be like that too, so I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I think it will be.
A controversial take that I've been seeing on social media is this tendency for people to put up Brass and Nucleum and say, do you really need both in your collection?
Yes, you do.
I know. I think that whole take is wrong. Of course you need Brass in your collection, and then Nucleum potentially is just second to that.
Did you also buy Brass when you got your clays, iron clays?
What if I did? But I didn't. I just bought the clays.
I don't know. Looking at Reed's face, I can't tell.
She lies. Her bed is only made up. No box spring. It's just board games.
No, it's a box spring. It's just all these. It's actually quacks. It's just the quacks.
No, not that box.
No, I didn't. I did not. I promise you, I did not buy Brass, because I go on record that I could not teach Brass, even though I've played it a million times. There is no way that I could teach that game because I don't even understand being connected to Cole half the time.
Since my cheeky joy game was already taken, Revive actually has been bringing me joy as well.
But that was already taken.
Rude. I'm taking it too. We can share. Because apparently I don't get to share Nucleum with you.
It's not my fault. It's Angela's.
The podcast gods.
Wow.
Anywho, Revive. Beautiful game. Love that game. And it was definitely great getting to play it 3-player recently. The technology track on your board is so fun to me. I love getting to add pieces to it. I love the little switch that it's a cardboard piece in a dual layered cardboard board that you get to move up and down. Like, that's satisfying. And we played with one piece of the expansion, which gave the switch a different ability. And I don't have anything else to say.
I think every 3 weeks or so, Becky and I text each other about wanting to play Revive, and this has been the first time that we've gotten it to the table since, must have been was it 6 months ago?
But I also feel like you and Becky probably text each other every week about Railroad Inc. And so I think there's just a lot of text messages about games you want to play that you're not playing.
It's every other day, actually.
Every other day. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, speaking of Railroad Inc.
And scene. Wyrmspan is a 2024 release that plays 1 to 5 players. It's from Stonemaier Games and is designed by Connie Vogelman, although it was originally developed by Elizabeth Hardgrave. The art is by Clementine Campardieu. The retail cost is $65, but with a number of upgrades, you could easily get up to $100. Reed, how do we play Wyrmspan?
Wyrmspan is inspired by Wingspan, although it offers different elements that take you into a new world of dragons and caves. The game feels like it belongs in the same family, and we'll discuss if it's different enough to have room for both in your collection. You are now an amateur dracologist in the contemporary world of Wyrmspan, a place where dragons of all shapes, sizes, and colors roam the skies. During a game of Wyrmspan, you will build a sanctuary for different types of dragons, excavating spaces, enticing dragons to roost there, and building engines to gain points through tucking cards, caching food, and earning favor of the Dragon Guild, along with a number of other ways. The game takes place over 4 rounds as you use coins and eggs to take one of 5 actions. You can excavate a space, which is opening a cave. You can entice a dragon to come and live in an excavated space by first having an open cave and a combination of resources needed to play it, which is where you need your dragon milk, meat, amethyst, or butter, which may be also considered gold, but we refer to it as butter. Resources are often collected through the cave cards and exploring different rows instead of the dice mechanism in Wingspan. Or you can explore one of the following places that offer different benefits, such as cards, resources, and advancement on the Dragon Guild: the Crimson Cavern, Golden Grotto, or Amethyst Abyss. As you explore the caves, you activate each space's benefits from left to right, which feels similar yet different to Wingspan. As you go up on the Dragon Guild, you collect extra resources, points, and more. Each player may have an uneven amount of turns because the mechanism mentioned earlier that you pay for your ability to take actions through coins and eggs. As you build your dragon engine, that means each round tends to get progressively longer as more coins and eggs are collected for use. And that is about it for how to play Wyrmspan.
Wyrmspan, or as I like to call it, Wyrmspanned, has been out for a little bit. We have recorded this podcast maybe 3 times at this point, but we played it the week it came out. And now you can find it at Barnes & Noble. And what I thought when this game got announced by Stonemaier was that it was a joke. And I kind of think everybody thought it was a joke. Like, are you kidding me? Is worms, wings? This is April Fool's Day, right? And it wasn't. And I think that this game is very interesting as a contrast to Wingspan. I do that on purpose now. I say to make it up. But this game is really, I've played it a few times now, and I had just commented on this very last play that we had that the art for it is something I'm really vibing with. Like the colors and the flow on the cards kind of reminds me of, because they're all dragons, that the Wingspan cards has a fan deck, and it kind of has like this fun light. I call some of the dragons like they're really dorky and kind of like cuddly, adorable looking, and Wingspan just felt very formal. This is a bird. This is what a bird looks like. But they took a lot of creativity with the images for the dragons, and I like that. I think that the game is really, really pretty, and the production is really wonderful.
In defense of Wingspan's art, I like it. I like Wingspan's art just because it reminds me of, I don't know, old scientific drawings of birds in a way, and I enjoy that. I am a scientist, so that jives with me. So
yeah, absolutely. When you said it reminds me of bird manuals, I was like, yes, 1,000% does that. Is Gillian's wheelhouse.
I really enjoy the artwork in both of the games. I do think the Wingspan cards feel a little more, I don't know, like put together. There's something about the bottom part of the card in Wyrmspan that stands out to me. It just feels like it's just missing a little something. I think that the font is larger on those cards, though, in Wyrmspan, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a big difference, is that if you've played Wingspan, the card is really, it looks like a manual, and then there's a little bit of text at the bottom, which can be hard to read. In Wingspan, there is maybe a little bit more clutter on the cards because there's a lot more going on. And the bird cards in Wingspan had text on them, something about the bird that was interesting. And they couldn't fit that onto these ones. So there's an additional manual that comes that just tells you about dragons and all the different types, which is interesting. I know that the cards, you couldn't put everything on there, and so you had to make some cuts. But I don't often find myself flipping through the dragon book.
yeah, aesthetically, the cards in oh my goodness, I'm getting them confused. The cards in Wyrmspan, I'm not a huge fan of because, as Becky said, they just lose something compared to Wingspan. One thing I'm thinking of is in Wingspan, where they go, like if they're going into the meadow or the wetlands or the forest, there are actual little icons for those. In Wyrmspan, it's just a block of color on the side of the card, which is less aesthetically pleasing to me.
I think that Wyrmspan's use of watercolor and being lighter in a way is something that I feel like it is intentional, that the cards have more white space. The images are softer, and I think that it feels very cohesive as a game going into it.
I think also around the aesthetic and just the feel and look of all the pieces and things together, the boards are really great, super durable. I love the thick cardboard that your personal player board is on. I like that there's a change from the 3-card display in Wingspan. I kind of actually like this board just a little bit. It displays 6 cards, but I always felt like I was kind of like, because the text is smaller, probably trying to like grab that 3-card thing and be like, what birds are there to play? And so I liked that a little bit. And to be fair, one of the coolest things I really liked was that Reed got the upgraded set again. And there's something so nice about the metal coins that I'm just like, ooh, this feels so good.
Mechanics wise, I have a few, there's some pros and cons in my opinion for Wingspan versus Wyrmspan. And starting with pros, one thing I do like about Wyrmspan that they remove entirely from Wingspan are the dice. The dice are something that I did kind of like initially when we played Wingspan, but dice in any game, it's random as to whether or not you're going to get the resources you needed to play the birds that you wanted. And in Wyrmspan, they eliminate that, and there are other means to get resources. And so it's a bit easier to get the resources you want in Wyrmspan, and so I appreciated that a lot. Another thing that I liked about Wyrmspan is that they avoid the end game issues that I had with Wingspan, and that's egg laying. So in Wingspan, there's often not much that you can do that's better than just laying eggs your last couple of turns of the last round to get more victory points. And so it felt a little bad at the end in Wingspan a lot of times. And so Wyrmspan removes that, and the end game seems a little more dynamic in comparison. So I do appreciate that.
I also appreciate that there isn't the end egg laying game. I do like in Wyrmspan that you have 3 times that you can go through each row to do the different little hiker actions. Is that what he's called?
Explorer.
Explorer. As you're exploring through the caves, you can only do it 3 times. The first time it just costs 1 coin, and then the second time it's a coin and an egg, and then the third time is a coin and 2 eggs. So I think that's a neat function.
We have recorded this podcast about Wyrmspan 3 times. This is our 3rd time recording. And each time it's evolved into Wyrmspan versus Wingspan, which I think is really interesting because I am in the firm camp of Wingspan and Wyrmspan.
Also, just to note that we recorded 3 times, not because we were horrible at it. Well, maybe that was the case because that was one of the first episodes we recorded, but we ended up just talking a lot and there wasn't a lot of structure, hence the re-recording. And it's been long enough that we didn't feel comfortable releasing the old episode.
But what I can say, because we've now mentioned that, is that I don't know how much our opinions have changed from when we first played. I think a lot of that is set. And I do appreciate that we're comparing the both. If you haven't played Wingspan or Wyrmspan, you might be like, what is this? And it's really a tableau builder. Correct? Tableau builder, but like you activate certain actions, and not every card that you play has an action to activate. So you have to find a really good balance of one-time benefits from a card that will give you end of round scoring and game scoring, or something that'll activate every time you either explore or you activate a row of cards like in Wingspan. And that's a really fun balance, but because they play so similar, it feels like we're just picking apart some of the differences between the two. But the thing about both of them that I think is still kind of similar is that a thing about Wingspan is it can feel like multiplayer solitude, in that you're building out your board and there isn't a ton of player interaction except for trying to snake out the cards before somebody else gets them. But the thing that I really like about Wyrmspan is it adds this extra competitive race element with the Dragon's Guild. And there's different cards that you can sub into the Dragon's Guild, so it feels a little fresh every time. But that's an extra component of, hey, now I'm strategically trying to race around this extra track to get bonuses. And there's something at like the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock of the board that gives you a really good benefit around endgame scoring or playing a card for free that makes it super important to keep going around. And I like that different element. I'm like, ooh, it doesn't feel so multiplayer solitude.
Regarding the Dragon Guild, I liked it overall as well. I would say this most recent play that we had, I didn't like it quite as much. So I guess the reason I keep bringing up Wingspan versus Wyrmspan is because I'm in the camp of Wingspan. I like that more. It just feels a little more elegant to me, just in terms of the less complexity. I actually enjoy the multiplayer solitaire aspect. There are ways to interact, but few and far between. But the Dragon Guild I did like initially in Wyrmspan. That gave you some incentive to track what other people are doing. But I felt like it also introduced a little more, I guess, anxiety in a way, because you're actively trying to race. And if you don't get the cards you need to actually compete in that, it feels a little bad in a way, as it did this last round. And so I just felt like it gained something, but it also took away a little bit of the elegance that I appreciated in Wingspan.
To me, it seems like the issues that were a part of Wingspan, like the solitary component, the lack of interaction, the egg laying at the end, some of the new mechanisms of Wyrmspan are in direct response to that through adding the additional layer of the Dragon Guild, by having eggs be a part of it, but have a very different role, where they're not just they are end game points, but they're so hard to get through it that there's no way for you just to stack up points at the end of the game. And I really like that it felt like enhancing an existing game.
Yes, certainly. The added complexity drew some people to it, I know, just from reading Board Game Geek threads and whatnot. And I did appreciate that initially. I was really excited when Wyrmspan was announced and confirmed because I love dragons and I thought this would be right up my alley. Unfortunately, I didn't like it quite as much as Wingspan.
I'm not a dragon person, but I love Wingspan so much that I was very excited to see where this came out. And I would say I was really delighted by the Dragon Guild edition and by the reworking of things. This is a game that we haven't played together since February, and we've played a lot of different games between then and this point. So we're at about 6.5 months between plays for you all. Angela and I did play a game of it recently with our other board game group. I have really loved introducing this game to people who are on the lighter end of medium board gamers, and there's something about this game in particular that the puzzle that it creates and the engine building and how you move things, it's a little bit more intuitive, I think, than Wingspan. And there's something delightful for people who maybe aren't as into On Mars or other types of games where when you figure that puzzle out, it brings delight and interest in doing it. And there must be a reason why I've played it with a number of people who aren't super heavy board gamers who have absolutely loved this game.
Wingspan has transcended, I think, popularity. A lot of people who wouldn't call themselves board gamers, who would never listen to a podcast on board gaming, have entered the hobby because of Wingspan. And yet, I still think that maybe Wyrmspan, because of the fact, just something as simple as the activation of a or of a row goes from left to right, which is how I read left to right, and in Wingspan it's right to left, that it took me a lot longer to process how to play Wingspan than it did Wyrmspan, even though there is that added complexity of some pieces. So I think that people who play Wingspan may really enjoy Wyrmspan unless they're really only in it for the birds. If you know somebody who enjoys Wingspan, I think playing Wyrmspan would be a really fun change up for them. But I don't know how much you would want both games in your permanent collection forever and ever. Like, they do feel similar but different. I think people who maybe played Wingspan were ready for something new and a change up that wasn't just another expansion of, okay, now we have more bird cards, or now we have different areas, or now we have a new resource type. This feels like enough of a change that if you feel like you've gotten the mileage out of Wingspan, Wyrmspan is a great pickup.
Gillian and I have played Wingspan over 37 documented times, and Gillian, as he said, is still loving it. I fell out of love with Wingspan pretty early on. I don't really know why. I am terrible at this game. I lose Wingspan so much. And I mean, I think I've played 3 or 4 games of Wyrmspan and also lost all of those. So I can't figure out what it is about this game for my brain, but it just does not work. And we played so many games of it because of the kind of people that you were talking about, Angela, who aren't really super into board games, but fell in love with Wingspan. And that's what people wanted to play, so that's what we played. And I do see Wyrmspan is an interesting game, and I think does have a place in a lot of people's collections. Even if they do have Wingspan, I think that you could own both if you really, really love Wingspan. But I have a really hard time thinking about Wyrmspan without thinking about Wingspan. Like, I think it would be really cool to play Wyrmspan with no knowledge of Wingspan.
Yeah, I agree. It is hard to not compare them, but certainly Wyrmspan has a lot of distinct characteristics that can dive into here. One thing that I I have issues with Wyrmspan is how actions are determined by the number of coins you have. And so you start with 6 at the beginning of each round. You may have additional ones in later rounds at the start, depending on how many you gain through various things, be it exploring caves or playing dragons that grant you additional coins. And I struggled with that because in 2 of the 4 games, I think we played 4. 2 of the 4 games we've played, there's been one player, Angela, who managed to get a lot of the cards that granted additional coins. And so it was really disheartening in a way, just playing it and seeing one player just get 3 additional coins in one round while the rest of us were already past. And so that was kind of a struggle for me. And in both games, that Angela ended up winning in that way, just through action economy, just having more actions than everybody else. And so that was a struggle for me to reason, I suppose.
It led to there being a lot of dead time between rounds. And Becky and I always question, are we being efficient or are we being bad at this? But Angela was able to trigger a number of things that gave more coins, which was really great. But there were times where it was like 5 minutes or so between all of us ending rounds.
Yeah, it's no Everdell in terms of the end for sure, but I've never had so many coins than in the last game. I had so many coins that I could no longer really do actions with the ones that I had. Felt a little wasted.
Yeah,
Brag
about
about
it.
But what I actually like about this game is I never feel like I can get a combo off in Wingspan, maybe because I'm not very good at it. And I think it's based off of resources. I never have enough resources. And by the time I get enough resources, then we're turning the corner towards the end of the game. And in Wyrmspan, I like that they address that the randomness of the dice is gone. And there are lots of different ways to get resources. So you're not hindered by that. And it was really lucky that I had a card that I didn't end up playing early because I just was kind of like do. And then an even better card came to combo with that, which got me 4 coins off of 2 cards. And I do think that that's hard if somebody gets all of those cards, or if you never get a hatchling that comes up on the row that allows you to tuck a bunch of cards for double points. That can also be difficult. So the cards do add randomness, but I really just don't love the dice mechanic within Wingspan for me, and can make it hard to get off some of those combos. I am talking though to Gillian, who won the Wingspan tournament at our local board game convention.
I do feel very conflicted about the coins for actions. I'm going to compare again. In Wingspan, you start with 7-ish cubes. 8 cubes. I thought about 8, but it seemed like too many. You start with 8 cubes, so you get to do 8 actions in the first round, and then you do the end of round objective scoring. And so then you take one of your cubes and put it on that board. And now the next round you have 7 actions. And so then the round after that you have 6. And in Wingspan, I always have the feeling of, I don't have very many cubes left. The game's almost over. I need more actions. And it was really interesting when that dawned on me that I feel that way in Wingspan. Like every time I'm like, what am I going to do? And then in Wyrmspan, as you get more coins, you get more actions, and you are generally getting more coins as the game is going on. So the game is getting longer, but it didn't bring me joy that I can do more things like I thought it would in Wingspan. So that has been kind of an interesting thing to think about.
There are some aspects of the mechanisms and how your turns go on as your engine gets built that I don't love. I do not love tucking cards, and I do not love caching resources, and that is the way that you win this game, and I don't do it. I don't select cards that allow me to do it, and I just enjoy the other aspects of this game so much more than that. So that's why my scores have rapidly tanked from being very high to losing to Angela by 30 points this last game.
Oof, I think it was 40. No.
Angela!
Yeah, there is. I feel the same way, Becky. Like when I get to the last round of Wingspan, I'm panicked. And I think that's the egg laying thing. How can I get as many points in the last 5 turns because I cannot be building an engine in the last round? That's not how I felt in Wingspan. I was like, how can I get the most points, but it doesn't have to be through tucking. I want to play more cards. I think it's a piece of really managing how many coins you have. I almost never try and play dragons that cost a coin because I'm going to lose an action and I don't know how many cards are worth losing an action for. But that's the balance, right? Like, do you do that? I really like that in Wingspan, I almost never fill my entire board. And in Wyrmspan, I fill my board almost every single time, even if not with dragons, with caves, which give you benefits. So I think that's fun. I lament that I can never really fill my board in Wingspan.
I've played hundreds of games of Wingspan online. I've played a ton. I have only completely filled my board once or maybe twice. And in Wyrmspan, almost each time I'm close to or have filled it.
It's interesting because I think I feel the opposite about it. I like the struggle of having to decide which you need to focus on and not being able to complete everything. Not that I completed my board in Wyrmspan this last play, but yeah, just to provide a different point of view.
I think that the ticking down of turns in Wingspan, which I think is what you were just referring to as well, Gillian, is that it creates this tension. And that tension leads to strategy where you really think about what's going to leverage the most points. I'm looking at the end of round score. I'm looking at all of these other things. And because the turns seem to grow, the tension just isn't there at the end game. And I think the way that the game plays, it's almost like your last card is not going to give you points, or your last turn isn't going to give you points. It's enhancing whatever engine you already have in place. And so the end of the game feels very, very different.
That's a great way to put it. Where the tension was for me in Wyrmspan in this last game was looking over at Angela's coins as I use my last one.
That was a feel bad moment right there.
So I have introduced this game to a couple of our other groups, or one of our other groups, and then another group of people that I play with. And both immediately said, I like this better than Wingspan. And part of it could be, and I think we've talked about this before, that Wingspan is so attractive to people, but it's not a gateway game. It is far too complex to learn and to play to be a game for people who are just getting into playing board games. And I think that Wingspan seems a little bit more approachable to me, even if the dragons versus birds, like I normally wouldn't go pick a dragon game off. I would think, oh, that's like D&D stuff. That's not something that I would choose.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you can't, if you've played Wingspan and you want to teach it to new people, that you can't. Obviously, everybody who's played it isn't a hardcore gamer, and there is like a learning, I would say there's a greater learning curve for sure. And I think people are enticed by the birds and the elegance, as Gillian says, about the game. I don't know that folks are going to be drawn to Wyrmspan in the same way, to be honest, because like you said, oh, that's Dungeons and Dragons, that's fantasy things, that's way too much, which feels weird that it's like Catan is this great big gateway game and Wingspan is this great big gateway game, that they don't have maybe those fantastical elements. They're more rooted in, we travel down the road and we build some cities, or we build some nests and we put some birds in. Sounds great, right?
On rock and roll.
Absolutely. So I don't know that Wyrmspan will ever, even though I think that Wyrmspan, I like the game more than Wingspan, I don't know that it's ever going to hit the level that will be talked about in the same way of Wingspan. And it doesn't need to, for sure, but I don't know that there's always going to be that automatic interest in the game.
I love how Wingspan got me really interested in birds, and the aesthetic of looking at these, drawings or images of birds is something that has given me a lot of joy. And it could be because it was played a lot during pandemic days that people feel really connected to it, and bird watching really grew during the pandemic with the incident that happened, the racist incident that happened at Central Park. People really got excited about it, and bird watching was just something that happened.
Yeah, and it's fun to just walk around the neighborhood and be able to name birds that I see flying around because I've seen them in Wingspan. So that aspect is pretty cool.
And I think even for you, somebody who really likes dragons, it's, I think, the smallest bit, and I don't think it definitely did not quite annoy me, because I was always like, you're feeding people milk. What kind of milk is this? Is this dragon milk? Is this people milk? And Becky's always like, it's goat milk. Girl, I don't know that it's goat milk, but I love, Gillian, that you're like, I don't like that the game is set in the contemporary real world. You're like, no, this can't be happening.
I really don't. It's very frustrating to me. I don't know why. It's just, I opened up the additional booklet that gives you an overview of things. The first dragon I read, it was like, oh, they go to the shopping center and buy milk or something. And what?
Gillian's like, you can't play Nintendo and then also have a dragon flying in the sky as you look out.
Some reason it just, it irked me.
Maybe I need to read through that little booklet, because the first one I read was about the pet shop, like taking hatchlings to the pet shop. And I got very confused about, like, what is happening here? Are people breeding dragons to then sell them at the pet shop? Are they rescuing little hatchlings? I don't know. And what milk are they feeding them?
Becky.
What meat is it? Is it dragon meat? Is it goat meat?
Is it people?
What?
Exactly.
So many questions.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the comparison of these two games. What do you think? One, as you look at your collections, who would you recommend Wyrmspan for? Not Wingspan, Wyrmspan. Who would you recommend that game to? Also, would you have both copies in your own collection? Is this something that you can see yourself doing, or would you choose one over the other? Or maybe neither. Maybe neither brought you joy.
I think this game is for Reed. As a cheeky response. But really, I think this game is good for kind of gamers that are wanting a step up in complexity to, say, some of the gateway games. It is enjoyable. It's a good tableau builder if you're new to that type of game and that mechanism. It's a nice one to be introduced to, and it's very aesthetically pleasing all in all, and so it's a good one. As far as games in a collection, I wouldn't get Wyrmspan. I was glad when Reed bought it. I initially wanted to buy it when it came out through Stonemeier's website, and Reed beat me to it, and I was initially full of FOMO at that point. But when we played it the first time, I was like, okay, I'm glad I didn't buy it myself. I'm glad Reed took the plunge. And as for Wingspan, Becky forced my hand and we sold it to Angela, who still hasn't played it. But I wanted to keep Wingspan in a way. I caved to Becky, and at the time I was okay getting rid of it. We've played it recently on BGA and once again at our local board game convention. And it kind of reignited my interest in it a little bit. Not that I want to play it all the time, but I do enjoy it. I would probably have it in my collection if Becky were more willing to play Wingspan.
Hey, I have a friend named Angela who has a really cool copy of Wingspan at their house. I bet you could play.
It's not at Angela's house. It's part of the boxes that I sleep on. Because Angela was like, you love this game so much, I'm going to let you borrow it.
We have this friend Angela who let their friend Reed borrow Wingspan. I'm sure they'd all be happy to play.
Wyrmspan playing 5 players is great for our other board game group, and it's also something that it's nice not to have to go into really deep rules overhead with people, and you can start playing if you remember all the rules, which Angela and I struggled with because it had been 6 months since we had played it. But it's very easy for people to pick up, and I think that for people who just want to get together and play a game more socially, I have no problem having this game. I knew I was going to rebuy it because I've had some really joyful experiences playing it. And I've played it. I bought it maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I've played it 4 times.
I think if I were going to teach some newer gamers one of these games, I would pick Wyrmspan. And I actually hadn't realized it until, again, Angela said it during this podcast, because apparently that's when I realize things and think about things. But just the simple fact of you're going from left to right instead of right to left to do your actions, it makes so much sense why Wyrmspan makes more sense. And everybody always struggles with the egg costs in Wingspan when playing a new bird, especially when learning that game. So I think I would start with Wyrmspan, and then if they really enjoyed it, I would be like, hey, do you love birds? Because this is a cool game too. Very similar. Though, I'm curious, what would somebody who played Wyrmspan first think of Wingspan? I have so many questions. Are you one of those people? Please contact me on Instagram at BoardGameHomies.
Gillian mentioned that I haven't played the amazing pimped out version of Wingspan that I bought from them. I think it was in my collection very shortly before it moved to Reed's house. And it has an expansion. And is it Kickstarter pieces?
No, not Kickstarter pieces. It has the European expansion, and it has some custom player pieces from Meeple Source.
Yeah, it's a really amazing box that I like literally never opened, which is funny. And playing Wyrmspan and playing Wingspan more on BGA and realizing where my collection is and where I am now as I try and develop that collection, it's actually made me think about selling Wingspan and getting rid of the copy. One, because I think I just really prefer Wyrmspan. Again, I think it's that same thing of I don't have to spend a bunch of turns trying to gather a bunch of resources. It just plays a little bit different for me. And that was a hard thing to come to. I was like, oh gosh, I think we played a game of Wingspan over BGA. And I just was like, gosh golly, how much fun do I have playing this game? And we had just come off a play of Wyrmspan, and I was like, I don't know if both of them live in my collection. To be honest, I don't know if I end up owning both of them a year from now. I'm super happy that it's in Reed's collection, but if you were going to put both in front of me, I would love to play another game of Wyrmspan for all of its, more complicated, maybe unbalanced cards and things like that. And I can't tell you why. I just really, really enjoy it. And I feel like Wingspan may actually hit my for sale.
Okay, it's not, because I would rather trade you Wyrmspan for Wingspan. Or I want Wingspan. I think I can have both in my collection. And as you were talking, I was like, well, I don't think I like Wyrmspan more. I think it's something that the enjoyability of the plays has been much more recent. But I love Wingspan.
Yeah, and I also wonder just how much of this might be cult of the new, just in terms of, it's fresh. Like, we've played Wingspan so much over the years that now there's this new iteration that has these new mechanisms and all that. And I'm just curious how much that plays into it if Wingspan wore out its welcome as it did with Becky in some degree.
I think the changing mechanisms for me are that freshness. It does feel fresh. And I played Wingspan relatively recently after I'd played Wyrmspan for the first time and felt like I was missing some of frankly, the Dragon Guild is amazing. I know that there are so many different iterations and expansions of Wingspan that I lost track of. I hope at some point that they put a Dragon Guild in there, or Bird Guild, or Audubon Society that's not racist, but whatever it is, I think that that's something that Wingspan could definitely benefit from.
And I think you've hit it on the head because I hadn't played 30-odd games of Wingspan before. In fact, I think I'd only played it twice when I had bought it off of you guys. It's really my rethinking of, solitary play. Like, I don't know that I enjoy that as much. And I get it. There are games that I like that do have that. But I'm thinking how many of those I actually want in my collection. And it's weird to say that a little dorky board for a Dragon Guild makes me feel different about a game. But I think that's really it. It's the racing element. It's getting more resources from that. It's me looking over being like, how can I hurry up and move up this track before I even play another dragon so I can do a thing? And I don't know. I guess you're always growing and learning and thinking about what you like in your collection, and that changes from year to year. Like when Becky played Wingspan for the second time, there was no way that she was like, I hate this game, sets it on fire. But yeah, I think your taste may be changed, and I've grown from the looks at watch 8-9 months ago when I bought that game.
What's really funny is that the first game that we all played together was Wingspan, because Angela and I had just started playing it, and we had so much joy in playing it. Once we figured out the puzzle of how to play it, we wanted to play it more, and we played it a game, I think, with my friend Lydia. And then Gillian and Becky showed up a little bit later, and we had all of these games to play. And maybe it's because Monopoly and Terraforming Mars were the other choices that I brought with myself. But we opted to play Wingspan, and poor Becky was like, Angela, do you want to buy this game from us? Like right then, but was so generous, both of them, in playing this game and humoring us, I guess.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. Becky smelled a sucker, and it was me.
Wait, but you like that game.
Yeah,
and
it
you
was
enjoyed
great.
it then.
You said, "Oh, I'm going to go buy this right now," and we said, "Hey, we have a used copy. Do you want to buy it off of us?" It comes with an expansion.
Sucker. Thank you for listening to Board Game Homies. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and drop us a line for your free podcast sticker on Instagram at Board Game Homies, or email us boardgamehomies@gmail.com. Bye.
Fine.
I like to say words special, Becky.
No, I love it.
Burks. Your mom can't stop laughing. Tell her to get stuff together.
Burks.
And then,
I'm actually married to Becky.
oh my god.
Who was married to Becky?
Oh my god, no. I gotta, let me
Burks
see if I
thought
can
I was
find
just
this.
some random
a
guy that you three hung out
Literally
with. He didn't
just
think
a
I was
guy.
Oh, yeah.
associated with anybody.
That's actually way funner. This is just a dude we found on the street.
This is the random dude.
Just the dude.
Yeah.
Burks
Just the
was
dude.
like, are Becky and Gillian married? I thought Gillian was just the odd boy out, and that Becky belonged with Becky and Gillian belonged with Gillian.
Oh, that's really good.
It's
Yeah.
so sweet.